Shall we begin?
This is Live Speak with hosts Justin Gilson, Alan Quant, and John Rainey. We're bringing you tech news, gadget reviews, Kickstarter investment strategies, and anything we want to discuss with you. Stick around, it's going to be a great show.
On Live Speak Radio.
Welcome everybody to Live Speak Radio. We had some technical difficulties and dropped off for some reason. But we are back. We talked some tech news for those that didn't get to listen earlier. It deleted the first part of the show that we just did, so I guess we're starting a little over.
Magic that will never happen again.
I'm not.
I was talking away to myself.
Oh, I was talking too.
You were even gone.
I was talking too, and then all of a sudden I hear, "Boop," and I'm like, that was when it puckered up a little bit. I was like, oh, we just went, oh no, off the air. So anyway, we were just talking about iOS 7.1 coming out, and the Mt. Gox hack, of course, but what else do we have going on besides the Amazon? That's what we moved on to. Amazon Prime's new thing from $20 to $99 a year. I guess the Amazon Student Prime will raise from $10 to $49 last year. Apparently, they changed it from $10 to $49. The Prime members, of course, will pay the higher fee when their accounts come up for renewal. So they'll get a statement saying you're paying $20. Now you're going to be paying $100.
Yeah, it seems like a bit cheeky, to be honest with you. Kind of getting 5 times the price of the original one.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on what they're going to get for it.
Well, it looks like they're adding original programming like Netflix.
No, of course.
As well.
Right.
I think the phenomenon that you talked about, Alan, a while ago with big actors, A-list actors and stuff going to TV, because you're right, you can make a much bigger, longer story than you ever could in a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, I just started watching a show that was like that Mind Games show with Christian Slater, although I don't know if he's really considered an A-list actor anymore.
Oh.
But that's a pretty good one. Actually, well, Steve Zahn and Christian Slater are in it. Those
Steve
are both
Zahn's in it?
film actors. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I like him.
And you have True
That's a really
Detective
good
as
show.
well.
Yeah, True Detective is done.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That one's amazing.
I think that one sets the benchmark for A-list actors.
Yeah.
Definitely going into TV.
Yeah, I mean, Woody Harrelson hasn't been in TV since Cheers, I don't think.
Not that I know of, yeah.
That was like 400 years ago.
It's just they can put together a more complex character, you know what I mean? And I think that's why people are getting into more TV, original series and things like that. So you nailed that, absolutely.
Plus, you've more time to draw the audience in over a series. That True Detective, I wouldn't have been a huge Matthew McConaughey fan, but I kind of got drawn into the plot, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna have to watch that. I missed it.
Yeah, it's worth it, definitely.
A lot of people have talked about Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club too, because he did really well. So a lot of really good actors switching to TV. It's kind of cool. Now, Prime, of course, Amazon Prime was introduced 9 years ago. It has become one of Amazon's key drivers of growth for them, and with consumers increasingly willing to pay the premium for free 2-day shipping. Of course, that's a big part of it. Access to more than 40,000 online videos, and for streaming purposes, and the ability to borrow more than 500,000 books for your Kindle, if you have a Kindle library. But I just don't understand what they're going to put in here to make it worth an extra, $80.
Well, I don't think it's going. I think it's a bit too soon to think that maybe they are going to start heading down the route of their own scheduling their own programs, because I don't think they're in a position to do anything like that yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So I can't see what they can offer for that money to make it attractive for anybody to actually pony up the dough.
Yeah.
Because $100 for right, fair enough. $20 is a good offer if you're using Amazon or ordering stuff from Amazon on a regular basis, that you get free 2-day delivery. That's an excellent enticement. But other than that, I can't see. It wouldn't really appeal to me.
Right. I don't know. I mean, they're arguing that it's the company, they've never raised prices on the service for fuel and transportation costs, but they're claiming that now. And the hike comes they're apparently there's $80 worth of fuel and transportation costs for every single customer. I wonder how much that money will, how much that will make.
It takes a lot of gas to get an ebook to your iPad.
No, man, they got drones.
The drones to get to wirelessly send me a.
It lands and says, "Okay, it's there. Bye."
Nano radio drones.
Man, they have some nice drones now. The little pocket ones. We can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I want one.
Good.
I have
Lord.
a pocket drone.
Well.
Boo.
Wow.
Is that what you were doing with the zip?
That's terrible.
I was looking for it.
But that's something that I can't understand. Like, fair enough, they're increasing the prices. They must be losing a lot of money if they're increasing it from $20 to $100 a year.
Oh,
Well, how does the borrowing work with that? With the lending library. I mean, I heard about it a long time ago, but I never really looked into it. Like how Kindle owners can lend, I can lend you my book.
Yeah, actually, I've known a couple people that have done it, and you pay for the book, however much it is, 99 cents or whatever for a book, and then you go into your settings online, your Amazon Prime account or whatever, and you say you want to lend it to another member. So the other member has to be signed up, of course, and then you can just give them a link or whatever, and they put it on there. Yeah, you just share books, tons and tons.
I'd imagine when someone, like if I lended a book to you, then I wouldn't have access to it until you're done, right?
Oh, no, I think you can get it at the same time. Well, actually, you're right. I don't know.
So is it only lent for a certain time period? Is it like Mission Impossible, this book will self-destruct?
Right.
Yeah, because I'd imagine because I'm sure I know people are complaining about, ebooks being pretty close to the same price as a regular book, and but you don't have the option to sell the book or give it to somebody or whatever, because you're not going to give them your password.
Right.
So I think that's kind of where this came from. So you have a little more rights to, the book itself. But I would imagine if you're quote lending it, that you wouldn't be able to use it. Otherwise, you're basically just sharing.
Yeah,
rather
that's strange.
than.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure
that might be
authors
a
would be
good
pretty
plan,
pissed
though.
about it.
It would be.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a big library out there for lending, that's pretty cool. If it's free, I guess that $80 a year isn't too bad if you're really into books.
Well, and it's I don't know. You get the free free shipping or whatever it is, free 2-day shipping, and I guess there's a lot of streaming videos and stuff you can get for the $80. It depends. There's companies like Comcast and things like that where they bundle things together and you get a phone and all this stuff. It's almost like they're kind of going into that model of sign up for Amazon Prime, you'll get video streaming, you'll get books, you'll get music, you'll get any entertainment you need basically, and free shipping. So I don't know. I think they should have waited and got the music thing set up, the streaming service for the music and all that set up, and really launched their entertainment package basically.
Yeah, have a full package that you can actually sell before you start charging for it. The same way Netflix did.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I must sign up for my 30 days free trial. Actually, I still haven't done that.
I'm still on my trial of Netflix, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day when I had Netflix before as well, and it was just all crap. It was just really old movies and things that I never wanted to watch, and it was very family friendly.
Like
too.
Star Wars.
Yeah, that was never on there. You think George Lucas would allow that? Not a chance.
No, that's true. That's true.
Well, it's a 30-day trial. I'm going to try it.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's so far, I like being able to go from my tablet to the Chromecast on my TV. You know, just
Yeah,
quickly.
you see, that's something else I'm missing out on too. We've no Chromecast here yet.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, you see, we're just so backward over here.
Jesus, I'd say.
I hope there's going to be a lot more apps for that though, because it's not. I mean, it's a nice little thing to have, but I mean, on a real consumer level, I can't see it taking off until they really add. I mean, I guess Netflix isn't that bad, but you know, it's not a standalone thing though. You know, you have to have another device.
Yeah.
To
Well,
do anything with it.
Haven't they released an SDK for Chromecast? Haven't they opened up the software for developers?
Yeah, they are, and I think they already have. But I mean, we haven't seen any real results from that yet.
Well, and there's no. It's not like an Android where there's the store where you can just go and look for things. You know, you just kind of have to wait for a new update, and then they add the apps. Or well, actually, no, it's the other. I'm saying that wrong. It's people have to build apps that connect with it. I don't know, but I would like to see some more come out of it, and to really fine tune that the screen stream.
Yes.
And get that to not have as much lag. Because I mean, just we were talking before the show that about using your tablet and stuff like that as a secondary monitor. Well, in my case, a 10th. But I mean, you can do that wirelessly over your network, and there's not. I mean, there's a slight lag, but not. I mean, it's not enough to make it not slow your productivity down or anything. But with the Chromecast, it's definitely there's enough of a lag that it's not like you can't use the monitor that you're streaming it to because you're too far behind. So it would work for like a presentation, but if you're actually using it, it's not going to work because your mouse is going to be a couple seconds behind where it really is and all that. But
unless you can train yourself to that.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then as soon as you do get yourself trained to it, they fix the lag issue.
Yeah, right.
I see the breaking news in the chat there. It's just been handed to me. According to your dad, the CEO of Apple is moving to BlackBerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Actually, BlackBerry got some good coverage on the TV today. Anybody who watches any Formula One, they sponsored the car that won the Australian Grand Prix. And the BlackBerry were right in the center of the screen for a good 30 seconds, so I'm sure their stock went up.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of that.
Well, I'm going to go buy a BlackBerry then.
I'm telling you. It's a good investment.
Well, we talked the other day about John Chen thinking he can save BlackBerry like Steve Jobs did Apple. I don't think so.
I mean, if they go a completely different direction, but if they're trying to stay in the same market they're in right now, they're going to fail. I mean, they'll have to kill... I mean, the only thing they could do to stay in the smartphone arena is to drop their crappy OS and go to Android. Otherwise, because they could definitely, if they, kind of like Samsung. I mean, they just kind of came out of nowhere with these awesome devices, and that's really the only thing holding BlackBerry back. If they can build cool devices, they just need to load Android on there. But because nobody wants their stupid OS.
Right.
With half the apps, kind of like Windows.
And even Windows Phone, they've switched over to compatibility with some Android things as well. And there are Nokia phone they released very recently too that had had Android installed on it as well as the main operating system.
Yeah, I mean because I know they're going to have a hard time with it. I mean, when I went to go upgrade my phone about a couple months ago, they were running a special at Verizon. For it was you get a Windows phone and a tablet, an RT tablet, and there's one other thing, but like the package was like $299.
Ooh, that's cheap.
So I mean that's a pretty good deal. But I was telling him like one, I don't want a Windows phone because why would I? And two, I don't want an RT tablet, right? Because it's going to be pretty much pointless to me. It's just a giant phone.
Yeah,
because I can't run the stuff I want to run on it, and I had to talk him out of talking me into it.
No, I don't want it. I mean, really, no.
Well, I had a Windows Phone in my hand for about 20 minutes there the week before last, and it was the most frustrating 20 minutes that I spent in a long time, just trying to set it up for a guy. It was a guy, he was an older guy, he didn't know how to use it. He had an idea, but he didn't know how to actually set it up so that he could use it properly. And, of course, I said, yeah, give it to me, I'll do it now and do it very quickly, thinking it was going to be a simple enough process. You have to sign up for, 20 minutes later, we were still there.
Yeah.
So it was just extremely frustrating. And, I'm kind of using, the only point of reference I have of recent times was the Samsung Galaxy tablet that I bought. And it seems that I was up and running in like under a minute with that. Mm-hmm. So when I'm kind of looking to do it together, and I'm thinking, yeah, see you later, Windows Phone.
Yeah, no thanks.
It's not something.
Yeah, I played around with it at the store, but I don't know if you noticed this when you were messing with it. One thing they did that they really shouldn't have done is, unless I didn't investigate it more, but the interface scrolls downward, and really no other phone does that, or mobile operating system. So it's not even a natural thing. You're used to paging with your thumb across.
Yeah.
And and that's even how Windows 8 was built with their start screen, was to go side to side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then they did it up and down on their phone. That was kind of a dumb move.
Yeah, that's weird. It is backwards.
Yeah. I like the idea of the tiles and stuff like that. for mobile.
Absolutely.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. But... It's basically seeing all your apps at once all the time, which is kind of nice. Speaking of apps, Starbucks is now, of course, letting mobile users order their items ahead of time. So you don't have to stand in line. Well, you still have to stand in line probably, but...
Yeah, you're still going to be waiting.
Yeah. Everybody's going to be ordering ahead, so it's not going to do anything.
Yeah. You're still going to have to wait the same amount of time.
It's becoming a... not a phenomenon, but there's McDonald's. There's certain McDonald's that are actually doing this now. People can actually build their own burgers or whatever in their app while they're at the restaurant. Order it, and it sends it back to them, and you get however you want it. You can build up with fries on it and Fritos and whatever.
Is there an option to add a hair?
I think that's default, right? I think that's just in everything. Yeah.
John, or Justin, was it you that I was talking to? This might have been a year ago now, but about an interface to like
the drive-through.
Yeah.
I still have our document.
I'm kind of surprised that hasn't happened yet. Especially like an in-store one where you can just walk up like a kiosk. Mm-hmm. The odds of your order getting screwed up without that human interaction be way better. Plus, and if there is a screw up, then it's definitely the customer error, and not that the person taking the order didn't misheard you or something like that. And just I just think that would be much better. Now, granted, that probably kill a couple of 100,000 jobs, taking out the
that was
cashiers and drive-through people. But
but that's
somebody still has to pack your bag.
Yeah, it still has to be put together.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
But
somebody said it's a spit on your fries.
yeah, right.
Right. I guess everybody's trying to go that way. It's funny to me that you can have an app and build your food and then go pick it up. I don't know. It's so funny to me.
But I suppose it's another point of sale for them because everybody has a phone. And you're competing against so many other companies that, you have so little time to actually get your product out there. So I suppose if you have a shortcut on your desktop of whatever phone you're using, if you open up your phone and you see a Starbucks shortcut and you think, oh, I wouldn't mind a Starbucks.
Yeah.
It's
with apps come push notifications too, which come advertisements and things like that. So it's another good way to constantly be on your phone. They're constantly going to be telling you what's available. Here's this deal today. You can get 2 of these for this, whatever. It's genius.
I know what it really is about, though.
What?
Government are trying to track how much coffee you're drinking. Per individual.
Actually,
the answer is a lot.
If you order your Starbucks from a MacBook Pro, is it going to cost you $25? I think so. Looks like you placed your order on an iPhone. Well, we'll take all your money. And that's a lot of control.
To realize you're going to be paying it off for the entire duration of your phone contract.
Yeah. That's the control they have, too. I wanted to talk about this, too, before we go into other stories about the government giving up control of the Internet. Officials announced on Friday that the U.S. government would surrender control over the Internet, or at least the administration of the Internet. It's unclear who will take over the responsibility, but as the Washington Post points out, it will almost surely not be the United Nations. Now, everyone's probably thinking, wait a minute, the U.S. government actually has control or had control over the Internet? And you'd have the right to wonder what the heck's going on with that. After all, the Internet, by its very definition, is a free and open global communication network. What's supposed to be, anyway. Now, the complete comprehensive history of the Internet from 1957 to 2008 in just 8 minutes. There's a video we have on our website. It's an animated video. On livespeakradio.com. You can go to the tech news and watch this. It's really cool. Now, however, the U.S. government did sort of invent the Internet. I mean, technically, the Internet grew out of a Defense Department project in the 1960s called ARPANET, or ARPANET, though the network was really built by many, many scientists from all over the country and around the world, actually. Nevertheless...
Al Gore is not a scientist.
No, he's not. But he invented all of it. And he's fixing global warming on his own.
He is. And he's doing a damn good job, too.
Right. Nevertheless, though, for a complicated set of reasons, the U.S. government maintained administrative control over certain parts of how the Internet works, specifically through a long-running contract between the Commerce Department, and get this, and the Internet Corporation of Assigned Names and Numbers, the ICANN, and that's the party who controls the assigning Internet domains like .com and .org, things like that. Now, Friday's news is hardly a surprise. As you've surely noticed, the government's been taking a lot of flack for spying on everyone, pretty much, in the entire world, and compromising that free and open principle. Plus, NSA shenanigans aside, the Internet really is a tool for the entire world. It's not a very, very nice of the Americans to maintain control over it, the entire thing, even if it's control over its how domains work. So what happens now? They say, don't worry, your Netflix isn't going to suddenly shut down this weekend, and you can still register new domains all to your heart's content. But what happens now is that leaders from around the world will start the conversation and come up with some sort of compromise. Again, the U.S. announcement made it pretty clear that it would not surrender control to the UN. Uncle Sam has never liked that idea, apparently. It's certainly possible that the new international organization will be created to take over the U.S. government's responsibilities, but it's too soon to tell. So don't worry about the Internet disappearing on us. But what I don't understand about this is how it's going to get regulated with this new international organization that's getting made. Who's making it? Who's going to be part of it? Al Gore, probably. And I just don't get it.
I'm sure it's going to be an entity that's going to be put in place by mutual agreement of everybody. Well, when I say everybody, I mean all the elected officials in the individual countries.
Right.
You know,
everybody but Chad.
Everyone but Chad.
Yeah. Have they still not watched your videos?
No.
No, they haven't.
Book a holiday to Chad and bring your phone with you, and watch one, and that's it. You're covered then.
I should.
It's interesting too if you look
bring my
on
Windows phone.
my Windows phone. Good luck with that. If you look on our website, under the tech news on this story, there's an animated GIF.
Yeah, which just messed up my internet. Thank you.
You're welcome. How did an animated GIF just mess up your internet? Your
don't
internet
know,
from
but I went to the
1985?
I guess I went to the story and then you guys started breaking up. I had to switch to a different story, so I'm freeballing it here.
That's funny.
Yeah, depending on the news site you actually go to, I noticed this. If there is an animated GIF on the page, there's so much else going on the page that it just takes so long to download. I do get frustrated at times.
That's funny.
And I just go to another page.
Well, what it is, it's basically the internet usage over the course of 24 hours over the entire world. And there's red, average is green, so average usage or whatever, and red is, I think that's a lot of use, or I can't remember.
Oh, there's one directly over my house by the looks of it. A big red dot.
A giant red dot. Where's Al Gore's house at? Is he just United States? He is America. But, I mean, the control will go to somebody or some buddies. But what are they going to do with it is what I wonder, because there's talks about companies like Comcast and putting caps on your internet, your data limit on internet. And it's supposed to be a free and open source type network, the internet. It should be free to a point. I mean, I understand they're going to regulate it a little bit, put some bottlenecks on some people that are, have tons and tons of downloads and uploads and things like that. But limiting your internet for a household to like 300 gigabytes per month might not be enough anymore. With the higher quality things get, the more streaming that goes on. I don't know how much. And I mean, look at this picture. It's ridiculous. In 24 hours,
I would if I could.
Insane.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
The thing about it is, if they start limiting and bottlenecking certain things, there'll be absolute uproar worldwide.
Yeah.
And I don't think they should be allowed to do that, because it's. We talked about this about 2 months back, and it's all about money. It's all financially motivated, so that the internet service providers can basically say, well, if you want faster internet, we can give it to you, but you'll have to pay for the privilege.
Right.
For the likes of your Netflix servers and things like that. And they'll start charging the likes of Netflix for the privilege of having faster service, which then knocks on the increased cost back down the road to us.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
Well, you know what? I think if they mess with the internet too much, this might sound crazy, but we're just going to start making our own little internets all over the place.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, think about it. You get a good enough signal strength from my home here, and screw Comcast. I'll pay their, for their crappy internet service and their limited data, and I just won't watch movies and stuff. I'll just work within my neighborhood, and we'll just share movies and stream them from our houses, our own network. It sounds crazy, but it could be done.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
With the technology's, it's there, and the amount of storage and stuff like that is increasing so much that you could have your own little tiny internet here. You could download Wikipedia on a computer for the most part, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, it wouldn't be updated, but stuff like that. All that information, you could collect it and share it with people.
Yeah.
You have lots of computers there. You could make a start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my own internet here. Al Gore Quant.
Al Gore Quant.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
We hyphenated our names when we got married.
You should have.
Gore-Quant.
That's very old school of you. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. No glass ceiling here, buddy.
No. So I guess we'll figure out what happens. They're convening. The ICANN is going to have a meeting, and they say, quote, we look forward to ICANN convening stakeholders across the global internet community to craft an appropriate transition plan. Apparently this has been going on, talks about this, and relinquishing the control of the internet domain names, or the domains.com and all that, has been in talks for the last decade or so. It just really took off when all this backlash from last year in the NSA started happening, thanks to Edward Snowden. So people, talk about Edward Snowden, but he got things moving. At least people are trying to be more transparent. And I was trying to find the story that I had, but there was a guy that actually has his own little internet, and he's got like the encyclopedias all in it, and he's got a bunch of offload. It's actually, I can't remember what it's called now. It's like a offline internet or something. The guy's been just dumping information into it for years and years and years. So if it ever collapses, he's going to have that, internet basically of knowledge. I can't remember what it was though.
So he's got an offline database.
Basically, yeah. Big one, yeah. Which is nice. If you get to that point where we don't have internet anymore at all in the future, then I think our worries will be a little elsewhere. But
like 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, right. I think they heard too many NSA jokes.
Well, you know what would probably happen if something like the scenario I just said would happen. They'd probably start regulating it like radio somehow.
Right.
Because you can't just sit here and broadcast radio from your home. There's tons and tons of things you need to go through to be able to do that legally. In fact, a buddy of mine actually almost got in a lot of trouble because he used to work for a radio station here. and he was the guy that drove the truck around and did the remotes. He set up the antenna and all that, and he had the truck, and he was fiddling with something. He was trying to fix something in there. It was after hours, and he somehow activated the, my terminology sucks here, but I mean, basically turned on the antenna and started broadcasting from our band's practice space.
Whoa.
'Cause that's where he was at while he was messing with it. And the police actually came because he was operating an illegal radio station for about 15 minutes.
Holy cow.
I mean, they obviously realized, he worked for the radio station and he made a mistake, but I mean, yeah, dude, they don't mess around with that. Radio is highly regulated.
Yeah.
Wow.
They'll probably end up doing that with the internet and stuff, because I mean, that's basically what you're doing, and that's just another way to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Start charging you if your internet goes past your house,
Right.
Or I mean, your network signal.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's taken 25 years for them to get to this point. You mean to say it's taken 25 years for them to wake up and realize that, hey, hang on a second, we can put some semblance of control on this?
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of attempts, I'm sure, that we have never heard of. A lot of things going on behind
I think
there.
we got lucky that it was kind of for a while, it was such a select, small group of people utilizing the internet, and there's so many people saying that this is never going to go anywhere.
Right.
That I think it kind of just snuck up, and I think it went too fast for them to really jump in and get their hands all over it. Because I mean, even when I was a kid using AOL and stuff, it still wasn't very big. It was still kind of a nerdy thing to do.
Yeah.
And then just boom, within a couple of years after that, I mean, everybody was using it.
Well, and I think it was a lot of people like you guys that could they found out, I can make these pages. I can make these websites. And then it just went crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess we'll
but
see.
I think the word control there is the wrong word to use, because I think at this point, if they could have controlled it, they would have done it by now. I think what it proves is that you can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
It's too big to control.
Right. I mean, they've technically kind of been controlling it, or in control of some things, so they claim. It's just weird. It's like me claiming that I've been in control of the internet. I don't know how you can say that.
But if they were in control,
there's some things like the domain names and things like that, like limiting the top level domain names, the .coms, the .this and .that, and which at some point they're going to have to open that up even wider soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because .com isn't the main one anymore. I mean, it's still the main one, but I mean,
yeah, but we're
getting pretty comfortable with
custom.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's tons of them out there, and people now are buying the different countries ones so that they can make clever little combinations, things like that.
There's loads of new domain names released there only a couple of months back.
Right. Yep.
There's
More than
.radio and .internet and everything. So and actually the .ie, the Irish one, is probably one of the hardest ones in the world to get at this point.
Oh yeah, I bet.
You have to prove that you are associated to whatever it is you're registering for. Say for my business now, I don't have a .ie for my domain name, but if I wanted one for my business, I have to send them off my company registration cert to prove that I am who I am. It's to stop everybody just applying for them. But I can apply for a .it for Italy. It costs quite a lot of money. I think it's $99 for the year for it, but I can still apply for it quite easily without too much verification, to the best of my knowledge, anyways.
Yeah, a lot of them you could still do. Like I know .in, which I think is India or something like that.
India,
I'm pretty sure you can get that one without any restrictions. .io is getting really popular in our field for code and open source, things like that.
Well, there was this controversial expansion about a month ago or so. Actually, this looks like it was maybe 6 months ago, according to the story. I thought it was recently, but there's 1,000 new domains that they put out there not domains, but domains.coms or whatever.
Top level domains.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And they actually, the ones that they put out, a couple examples were like .buy, B-U-Y, .casino, .gay. Yeah, that's
Sorry, I didn't mean to
that
laugh
could
at
be a
that
fun
point.
one.
That's one of them. I mean, and they're talking about the troubling, particularly troubling is the possibility of these widespread name collisions, they call them, that could happen when domains used by internal corporate computer systems such as .corp, .home, they get assigned to the web more broadly. So this could cause systems to fail,
true.
blocking access to email, internal programs, things like that, and also, could open sensitive information to theft. So I understand there's got to be some kind of regulation.
Yeah, because I've actually done that on my computer by editing the host file.
Oh.
Just setting up your own little mini domains so that I can access parts of my server quicker.
That's smart.
Like I'll do like a .dev or something, and then that'll take me to a certain part of my server.
Yeah, see, that's interesting. I don't know.
You can even buy .sexy.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I own that one. I own everything.
Do you?
Past.
Do you own .tattoo? There's .tattoo. .bike.
Not yet.
.bike, yes.
Bike.
Yeah.
There really is that many.
Yeah. Well, it says there's 1,000 that got dropped off in this. Yeah, in the expansion plan that they dropped there. They have whoever wins control of these new domains, they'll be allowed to sell licensing rights for, of course, the resulting new web addresses they come up with, typically for annual fees, and a portion of the fund going to the ICANN for their work. And ICANN's based in Southern California right now. Just bidding for a domain costs, $185,000 to bid for a domain.
That's for the right.
Oh, and it looks like
the right to control it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, it looks like GoDaddy's advertising some of these new ones already, like .photography, .guru, .directory, .tips.
Oh,
Man, there's a lot.
Some of them are available already, if not all of them, at this point.
Mm-hmm. And it's just getting more clever and more creative in the way you want to make your website stand out, You do the tandem.bike, and you sell tandem bikes. I don't know. Tandem bike.
It seems that some of them aren't available yet. Like the ones that have only just been released this month is .careers, .photos, .recipes, and .shoes.
.shoes, of course.
Yeah. So, and this week, probably there'll be a big surge to buy the one that's supposed to be coming out on Wednesday. .company.
Now, does this, you think, in ultimately the control of the ICANN and what domains come out controls the what consumers buy and the market? You know what I mean? If you allow, like you said, the shoes one, but you don't allow a cars one, does that mean that there's going to be a lot more websites and a lot more shoes getting sold this year because that domain is available? I don't know how much control, what it allows you to create by having control of these.
Well, I think first and foremost, it's going to help kind of pigeonholing searches so that if somebody is looking for shoes, they're the obvious ones that they're going to look on first.
Right. Okay.
So I'd say it could be another way to generate more money from businesses because if somebody's in the shoe business, rather than go and buy a .com name, they'll have to go and buy a .shoes, which would probably cost them maybe 60 times as much as a .com name.
Right.
Because I'm sure these aren't going to be cheap.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so I'm trying to search for one right now and see if GoDaddy's hiking up the cost of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Photography, though, man, that's a big,
yeah, that's huge.
That's adding a lot.
Yeah.
To the end of your.
Well, apparently there's 6 due out this week. I'm wrong. I thought there was only one. .company, .academy, .center, .computer, .management, and .systems.
Oh,
so
.systems.
This week.
Wow.
Yeah. So they would be pretty high sought after.
No, they more expensive. Did you find some?
Photography is, photography is $25 a year.
Okay.
So something.photography is available.
Nice.
Alan.photography is not, however.
Selfie.photography.
Nor is Justin.photography.
Now, if you go and selfie.photography,
Oh, that'd be a good one.
that would be a really good one.
Yeah.
Register, click.
And that one's gone. And no owns that. It'd be interesting though if you had the capital to go when these do get released to go and buy up a whole bunch of common names. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sure people do that.
Yeah.
Oh, selfie's already taken.
Is it?
With a Y or an IE? Is it selfie with a Y or selfie
IE.
with? Oh, okay. Dang it.
Try naked selfie.
That's right, with Y.
What is
By the way,
happening?
the rest of the show, we're just going to be trying for
Yeah.
domain names.
Yeah.
That's it.
Total segue.
That's funny. No, we talked about because of the NSA. All this has come about because the NSA has been kind of exposed by Edward Snowden. Some people think he's a hero. Some people think he's not. Bill Gates is one that says that he is no hero. And when Bill Gates stated this many times, but when Edward Snowden starts his official fan club, you shouldn't expect Bill Gates to sign up. The richest man in the world isn't much of a fan at all, it turns out. In an interview with Rolling Stones, which you'd never think Bill Gates and Rolling Stone would ever be in the same sentence, Gates outlined his view of Snowden in the context of his methods and privacy itself, answering the question as to whether he viewed that Snowden was a hero or a traitor. Gates hedged slightly, but leaned noticeably in one direction. He says, "I think he broke the law, so I certainly wouldn't characterize him as a hero. If he wanted to raise the issues and stay in the country and engage in civil disobedience or something of that kind, or if he had been careful in terms of what he had released, then it would fit more of the model of, okay, I'm really trying to improve things. You won't find much more admiration from me." The test of if break the law, then not hero is quite silly, especially since Gates mentions in the next sentence that civil disobedience would have been a better option. Yeah, stick around and see what happens. That would have been way better for him.
I find that extremely hypocritical of him to say stuff like that.
Agreed.
Talking about breaking the law, like fair enough. He's back in the top, whatever, 10 in the richest people at the moment.
Right.
But he didn't get there because he was squeaky clean and
nice.
Didn't steal and.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Now, when Gates was then asked if it was better now that we know what we know about government surveillance, Gates said, "The government has such ability to do these things. There has to be a debate, but the specific techniques they use become unavailable if they're discussed in detail. So the debate needs to be about the general notion of under what circumstances should they be allowed to do things." Now, what I find interesting about the statement above is that Microsoft, as a company, has been active regarding the NSA's activities and the large surveillance state. Microsoft joined Google in suing the government for the ability to share more about governmental requests for its users' data. Happily, Snowden's contributions to the world help you whether you like the man behind them or not.
Think about it. If he didn't say what he said, we would be none the wiser right now.
No, not at all.
And as it did not, I don't advocate what he did or anything like that, but at the same time, it's going to affect massive changes in terms of encryption and privacy.
Yeah, and
so
that's huge.
That can only be a good thing.
Right, and for Bill Gates to say basically that if he wanted to raise the issues and stay in the country and engage in civil disobedience, he's basically saying that he should have done it in a better way. That he didn't have another way. You can't just go tell secrets and have no recourse. He had to blow the whistle and disappear. So whether you like him or not, there's definitely some transparency that has opened up. And actually, Edward Snowden was at SXSW recently too, the South by Southwest Film Festival, music festival thing, and they actually had wasn't it a Skype call, a live Skype call? I missed it.
It was a Skype call routed through about 6 different proxy servers, so they couldn't kind of discover where he was. It was an hour-long interview. It was very, very good, I have to say, because there was a full audience there, and then there was 2 guys on stage, basically who were hosting it, and he was on the screen behind them. And it was a very, very good. It wasn't an interview. It was more of a discussion.
Yeah,
and they kind of tabled questions to him via Skype and via Twitter, and kind of these questions were coming in live, so he was answering people's questions and everything. So it was a very, very interesting interview.
Yeah, and
But as I said,
you actually recorded it, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. It's almost an hour long.
Okay.
But it's definitely worth listening to.
I think we have that actually, and I think we can play that here in a minute. Mm-hmm. It's an hour long, so we'll probably go over a little bit from our 2-hour mark, but that's fine. It's our show. We do what we want.
Exactly.
And besides, the show kind of started over. So, and I just found out too that it did save the intro of our show, the first 35 minutes.
Did it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So there's the other parts on there too. And for those that don't know, you can head over to livespeakradio.com and you can listen to past episodes and see all the stories that we're talking about in the show. And also, I just found out from Gary at Indiana Talks that their contest is still going on, and their iPhone app just came out on Friday, actually, in the iTunes store. So now they have an Android version and an iPhone version of their Indiana Talks mobile app. You can get that, download that, take a screenshot of it, and send your screenshot to indianatalks@gmail.com, and you'll be entered to win $50 just like that. Pretty simple. So, I don't know. We talk about Snowden, whether he's a hero, whether he's not a hero. He's a very smart man. The interview, the part that I did get to listen to, probably 15 minutes of it, he's a very smart person. Mm-hmm. And he just doesn't strike me as a person that was leaking information to destroy America or anything like that. I don't know.
It wasn't a target specifically. Like, as I said, I don't condone what he did, or I don't say what he did was wrong, but I think it's something that people needed to know.
Right.
And I think what he did was very brave, because he's suffering the consequences of it now because of the fact of what he did, and I'm sure his family are probably under very, very close scrutiny as well.
Yeah.
So, he made a big sacrifice in order to get that information out there. And I think that was. It seems to me that it was primarily through frustration as well as everything else, because he did go to other people with it and with information, and he was basically told, "Yeah, shut up." So, but yeah, he is a very, very smart guy, and it definitely comes across in the interview. And he does make some very, very good, points, and make some very good arguments throughout the course of the interview as well. So it's definitely still worth a listen.
Nice. Yeah, we'll play that audio clip here in just a minute, but I want to hop over and and talk about a couple of the WTF stories, because John, you're going to be taking off here soon. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to talk about the woman who tricked her teen into seeing his own mother's nude photos. I don't know what's wrong with people. I really have no idea, but a Pennsylvania woman looking to exact revenge on her husband stole nude photos of the man's girlfriend, posted them to Facebook, and tricked the woman's teenage son into looking at them. Julie Ottaviani, 54, appeared to strike a reporter as she left a magistrate's office on Tuesday. Reporter Bill Waddell from Newswatch 16 asked questions related to the case. On the video, Ottaviani can be seen trying to take the reporter's microphone before striking him in the face with her purse. She's violent. Ottaviani,
that's what I had to laugh at. It said that she appeared to strike him. She beat the crap out of him.
She beat the crap out of him, yeah. Ottaviani had just minutes earlier pleaded guilty to charges of corruption of minors and criminal use of a computer. The irate wife admitted to hacking into her estranged husband's computer and cell phone in January, where she saw and stole naked photos of the man's alleged girlfriend. That's when investigators said Ottaviani created a fake Facebook profile where she posted the image of the naked woman. She then added the woman's 14-year-old teenage son as a friend. Court records said that the teen accepted the request, clicked on the profile, and saw photos of his naked mother, according to KDVR. He said, quote, Ottaviani said, "I wanted her kid to hurt as much as mine." That's nice. That's nice
nasty.
of you. It's so fucked up. Oh my God. That's no thanks. That's just crazy. Why the fuck would you do that to somebody? Wow.
She's a bit bitter, I think.
I would say so. Yeah.
But the poor reporter got the brunt of it.
Yeah, he got the crap kicked out of him.
All he did was try to ask a question, and he got the crap kicked out of him, essentially. Yeah.
Oh, the WTF news. The other one we have is Russia actually blocked websites of Putin's critics, including the chess star Garry Kasparov. Russia is blocking websites critical to President Vladimir Putin. The Prosecutor General's office ordered Russian internet service providers to cut off access to a handful of websites, including the blog of famed chess champion Garry Kasparov. These sites contain incitement to illegal activity and participation in public events held in violation of the established order, read the announcement. That's via Google Translate, so it might be a little different. But blocking these websites is just the latest in the turbulent month for the Russian government. Earlier this month, Russia blocked over a dozen Ukrainian activist websites protesting their military intervention of Crimea. Last week, a Russia Today anchor quit on air, saying she could no longer work for a network that, quote, whitewashes Putin's image. Putin has defended his free speech record, claiming that he is preserving order and upholding the law. Yeah, I'm sure. Talk about control, man. That's crazy.
No.
Yeah.
No.
They actually, you know what is out right? The pole dancing droids. Did you see those? We talk about robots all the time, and Google buying up robots and Boston Dynamics and all that, and they showed a pair of pole dancing droids. Yeah, that's what I want in my house. Some pole dancer droid robot things.
Right.
Yeah.
That's going to have a big market.
I don't know why they chose to show these things off in that manner, because they're capable of doing a ton of stuff. But that seems to be what they want to show. I don't know why.
Yeah, they put them in heels too.
Yeah. They don't even have feet. It's funny. They just have little pegs. The robots appeared in the expo in 2012, but proved so popular that they have returned this year among visitors to the trade fair that were brought back for this year's 4-day event, which formally opened a couple of nights ago, actually. The dancers, which cost around £2,500 to hire, were made out of old car parts and were redesigned by British artist Giles Walker, I don't know, with their sultry moves controlled by a computer. Nothing sexier than a robot, I tell you. Especially one that looks like Short Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
Well, their heads look like surveillance cameras.
They do. They do. Looks like they just stole them off of a Walmart or something. That's funny. Oh, what is the world coming to? It's unbelievable. NASA, there's a NASA-backed study, actually. It's saying humanity is pretty much screwed. There's some research that they've done, and it appears in this peer-reviewed scientific journal, Ecological Economics. It has a more understandable, but of course, summary of the Guardian quote. Either way, the news isn't good, as the researchers point out. History doesn't seem to hold out any favor for advanced societies. The fall of the Roman Empire, and equally, if not more advanced, the Mauryan, the Han, and the Gupta empires, as well as so many advanced Mesopotamian empires, are all testimony to the fact that advanced, sophisticated, complex, and creative civilizations can be both fragile and impermanent. Now, they did this. There's a document, actually, that the scientists have, and there's a link is on our website, and it talks about a minimal model for human and nature interaction. And they start talking about this model of predator versus prey, and they show that it basically just keeps going up and down, up and down, and up and down, and no one ever really disappears, I guess, is what they're trying to say in this. I don't understand the math, so I've tried to read through this predator-prey model, and I can't figure it out, but it was the original inspiration behind HANDY, which is the nature predator. I can't remember what it is. I can't remember the name, or how I can't ever remember the full thing, but the system of equations, of course, was derived independently by two mathematicians, Alfred Lotka and Vito Volterra, in the early 20th century, and it's been expanded on. Basically, it has the wolf versus the rabbit in this complex mathematical formula, showing that they go out of phase. The wolves lead, then the rabbits lead, then the wolves lead, then the rabbits lead, and it's just back and forth, nonstop. So you can read that study if you want, but basically NASA is saying that the world, as we know it, big fancy societies do collapse. And they say that ours is, based on math, is going to end.
Well, yeah.
Duh. I mean,
Already did.
The Earth slows down every single day by a certain amount. I just wonder what's going to happen when it stops. Everybody's just going to start floating off your chair, and everybody's just going to die. Cold? Is that what you said? It'd be pretty cold?
Yeah, it'll be chilly.
Yeah, a little chilly. Well, we were talking to Edward Snowden. I found his audio from his interview, so we can go ahead and play that for everybody. And again, don't forget to follow us on Facebook.com/LivespeakRadio and Twitter @LivespeakRadio. We'll leave you with Edward Snowden's interview, and we'll but we'll talk to you next week. Yeah, next Sunday-ish. Sounds good.
Yes, it does.
So this is Edward Snowden's interview, or not interview, it was a little discussion that he had at the South by Southwest of 2014. So we'll see you next week.
Okay, I think we'll get started. Thank you all so much for being here. There wasn't a lot of applause when we came on stage, so I guess you're here to see somebody else. My name is Ben Weisner. I'm joined by my colleague Chris Segoyan from the ACLU, and maybe we can bring up on screen the main attraction. Are we going to see it? All right. With his very clever green screen. Please bear with us today. The technology may have some kinks. The video may be a little bit choppy. Our friend is appearing through 7 proxies. So if the video is a little slow, you're joining us for the event that one member of Congress from the great state of Kansas hoped would not occur. He wrote to the organizers of South by Southwest, urging them to rescind the invitation to Mr. Snowden. The letter included this very curious line. The ACLU would surely concede that freedom of expression for Mr. Snowden has declined since he departed American soil. Now, no one disputes that freedom of expression is stronger here than there, but if there's one person for whom that's not true, it's Ed Snowden. If he were here in the United States, he would be in a solitary cell, subject probably to special administrative measures that would prevent him from being able to communicate to the public and participate in the historic debate that he helped launch. So we're really delighted to be here. One more bit of housekeeping. As I'm sure most of you know, you can ask questions for Mr. Snowden on Twitter using the hashtag AskSnowden. Some group of people backstage will decide which of those questions we see here, and we'll try to leave at least 20 minutes or so for those questions. So as I said, Ed Snowden's revelations and the courageous journalism of people like Bart Gellman, who you just heard, Glenn Greenwald, Laura Poitras, and others, has really launched an extraordinary global debate. But you might think of that debate as occurring over 2 tracks. There is a debate in Washington in the halls of power about law and policy, about what democratic controls we need to rein in NSA spying, that takes place in courts that are considering the legality, the constitutionality of these programs, in the legislature considering legislation. But there's a very different conversation that you hear in conference rooms in technology companies, particularly among people working on security issues. And those people are talking less about the warrant requirement for metadata and more about why the hell the NSA is systematically undermining common encryption standards that we all use. Why is the NSA targeting telecommunications companies, internet companies, hacking them to try to steal their customer data, basically manufacturing vulnerabilities to poke holes in the communication systems that we all rely on. We're hoping to mostly focus on that latter conversation here, And with that in mind, Ed, if you're with us, maybe you could say a few words about why you chose for some of your first public remarks to speak to the technology community rather than, say, the policy community in Washington.
Well, thank you for the introduction. I would say South by Southwest and the technology community, the people who are in the room in Austin right now, they're the folks who can really fix things, who can enforce our rights through technical standards, even when Congress hasn't yet gotten to the point of creating legislation to protect our rights in the same manner. When we think about what's happened with the NSA over the last decade in the post-9/11 era, the result has been an adversarial internet, a sort of global free fire zone for governments. That's nothing that we ever asked for. It's not what we wanted. And it's something we need to protect against. When we think about the policies that have been advanced, sort of erosion of Fourth Amendment protections, the proactive seizure of communications, there's a policy response that needs to occur. But there's also a technical response that needs to occur. And it's the makers, it's the thinkers, it's the development community that can really craft those solutions and make sure we're safe. The NSA, the sort of global mass surveillance that's occurring in all of these countries, not just the U.S., and it's important to remember that this is a global issue, they're setting fire to the future of the internet. And the people who are in this room now, you guys are all the firefighters, and we need you to help us fix this.
So, Chris, you heard Ed say that the NSA offensive mass surveillance programs, the sort of manufacturing of vulnerabilities, is setting fire to the future of the internet. You want to comment on that?
Sure. So many of the communications tools that we all rely on are not as secure as they could be. Particularly for the apps and services that are made by small companies and small groups of developers, security is often an afterthought, if it's a thought at all. And really what that's done is enable global passive surveillance by the US, but other governments too. You know, what I think has been the most lasting impression for me from the last 8 months is the fact that the real technical problems that the NSA seems to have are not how do we get people's communications, but how do we deal with the massive amounts of communications data that we're collecting. The actual collection problem doesn't seem to be a bottleneck for the NSA, and that's because so many of the services that we're all relying on are not secure by default. And so I really think for this audience, one of the things that we should be thinking about and hopefully taking home is the fact that we need to lock things down. We need to make services secure out of the box, and that's going to require a rethink by developers. It's going to require that developers start to think about security early on rather than later on down the road.
Well, let me pick up on that. Ed, you submitted written testimony last week to the European Parliament, and I want to quote a very short part of that and have you elaborate on it. You said, in connection with mass surveillance, the good news is that there are solutions. The weakness of mass surveillance is that it can very easily be made much more expensive through changes in technical standards. What kinds of changes were you talking about, and how can we ensure that we make mass surveillance more expensive and less practical?
Right, so the primary challenge that mass surveillance faces from any agency, any government in the world, is not just how do you collect the easiest, the simplest, and most cost-effective basis by encryption. And there are two methods of encryption that are generally used, and one of which is deeply problematic. One of those is what's called key escrow. It's sort of what we're using with like Google-type services, Skype-type services right now, where I encrypt a video chat and I send it to Google. Google decrypts it and then re-encrypts it to you guys, and we have it. End-to-end encryption, where it's from my computer directly to your computer, makes mass surveillance impossible at the network level without a crypto break, and they're incredibly rare, and they normally don't work, and they're very expensive. By doing end-to-end encryption, you force what are called the threat model, global passive adversaries, to go for the endpoints. That is the individual computers. And the result of that is a more constitutional, more carefully overseen sort of intelligence gathering model, law enforcement model, where if they want to gather somebody's communications, they have to target them specifically. They can't just target everybody all the time, and then when they want to read your stuff, they go back in the time machine and they say, what did they say, in 2006? They can't pitch exploits at every computer in the world without getting caught. That's the value of end-to-end encryption, and that's what we need to be thinking about. We need to go, how can we enforce these protections in a simple, cheap, and effective way that's invisible to users? And I think that's the way to do it.
So, Chris, one of the obstacles to widespread end-to-end encryption is that many of us get our email service from advertising companies that need to be able to read the emails in order to serve us targeted ads. But what are steps that even a company like Google, that's an advertising company, or companies like that, can do to make mass surveillance more difficult? Are there things, or do we really need new business models to accomplish what Ed is talking about?
I mean, in the last 8 months, the big Silicon Valley technology companies have really improved their security in a way that was surprising to many of us who have been urging them for years to do so. It really took Yahoo. Yahoo was kicking and screaming the whole way, but they finally turned on SSL encryption in January of this year after Bart Gellman and Ashkan Soltani shamed them on the front page of the Washington Post. The companies have locked things down, but only in a certain way. They've secured the connection between your computer and Google's server, or Yahoo's server, or Facebook's server, which means that governments have to now go through Google or Facebook or Microsoft to get your data instead of getting it with AT&T's help or Verizon's help or Comcast's or any party that watches the data as it goes over the network. I think it's going to be difficult for these companies to offer a truly end-to-end encrypted service simply because it conflicts with their business model, right? Google wants to sit between you and everyone you interact with and provide some kind of added value, whether that added value is advertising or some kind of information mining, improved experience, telling you when there are restaurants nearby where you can meet your friends. They want to be in that connection with you, and that makes it difficult to secure those connections. But
is this the right time for a shout out to Google that is in this conversation with us right now?
So look, the irony that we're using Google Hangouts to talk to Ed Snowden has not been lost on me or our team here. And I should be clear, we're not getting any advertising support from Google here. The fact is that the tools that exist to enable secure end-to-end encrypted video conferencing are not very polished. And particularly when you're having a conversation with someone who's in Russia and who's bouncing his connection through several proxies, the secure communications tools tend to break. And this, in fact, I think reflects the state of play with many services. You have to choose between a service that's easy to use and reliable and polished, or a tool that is highly secure and impossible for the average person to use. And I think that reflects the fact that the services that are developed by large companies with the resources to put 100 developers on the user interface, those are the ones that are not optimized for security, and the tools that are designed with security as the first goal are typically made by independent developers and activists and hobbyists, and they're typically tools made by geeks for geeks. And so what that means is the regular users have to pick. They have to pick between a service they cannot figure out how to use or a service that is bundled with their phone or bundled with their laptop and works out of the box. And of course, rational people choose the insecure tools because they're the ones that come with the devices they buy and work and are easy for people to figure out.
Well, let's bring Ed back into this because in a way, this whole affair began with Glenn Greenwald not being able to use PGP, which is somewhat of a joke in the tech community, but really not outside the tech community. PGP is not easy to install, and it's not easy to use. Using Tor, using Tails, I feel like I need new IT support in my office just to be able to do this work. So, you're addressing an audience that includes a lot of young technologists. Is there a call to arms for people to make this stuff more usable so that not only technologists can use it?
There is, and I think we're actually seeing a lot of progress being made here. Whisper systems, the sort of Moxie Marlin Spikes of the world, are focusing on new user experiences, new UIs, and basically ways for us to interact with cryptographic tools. And this is the way it should be, where it happens invisibly to the user. It happens by default, right? We want secure services that aren't opt-in. It's got to pass the Greenwald test. You know, if any journalist in the world gets an email from somebody saying, hey, I have something that the public might want to know about, they need to be able to open it. They need to be able to access that information. They need to be able to have those communications, whether they're a journalist or an activist or even your grandma. You know, this is something that people have to be able to access. And really the way we interact with it right now is not good. You know, if you have to go in the command line, people aren't going to use it. If you have to go 3 menus deep, people aren't going to use it. It has to be out there, it has to happen automatically, and it has to happen seamlessly. And that's within reach now.
So who are we talking to, Chris? Are we talking now to technology companies? Are we talking to foundations to support the development of more usable security? Are we talking just to developers? Who's the audience for this call to arms?
I mean, I think the audience is everyone, but we should understand that most regular people are not going to go out and download an obscure encryption app. Most regular people are going to use the tools that they already have. That means they're going to be using Facebook or Google or Skype. And so a lot of our work goes into pressuring those companies to protect their users. In January of 2010, Google turned on SSL, the lock icon in your web browser. They turned it on by default for Gmail. It had previously been available, but it had been available through an obscure setting, the 13th of 13 configuration options, and of course no one turned it on. When Google turned that option on, suddenly they made passive bulk surveillance of their users' communications far more difficult for intelligence agencies. And they did so without requiring that their users take any steps. One day, their users just logged into their mail, and it was secure. And that's what we need. We need services to be building security in by default and enabled without any advanced configuration. Now, that doesn't mean that small developers cannot play a role. There are going to be, hot new communications tools. Things, WhatsApp basically came out of nowhere a few years ago. And what I want is for the next WhatsApp or the next Twitter to be using encrypted end-to-end communications. This can be made easy to use. This can be made usable, but you need to put a team of user experience developers on this. You need to optimize. You need to make it easy for the average person. And if you're a startup and you're working on something, bear in mind that it's going to be more difficult for the incumbents to deliver secure communications to their users because their business models are built around advertising-supported services. You can more effectively and more easily deploy these services than they can. And so I think if you're looking for an angle here, I think we're slowly getting to the point where telling your customers, hey, $5 a month for encrypted communications, no one can watch you, I think that's something that many consumers might be willing to pay for.
So if I could actually piggyback on that real quick, one of the things I want to say is for the larger company, it's not that you can't collect any data. It's that you should only collect the data and hold it for as long as necessary for the operation of the business. Recently, EC Council, one of the security certification providers, was hacked, and they actually stole my passport, a copy of my passport and my registration forms, and posted them to the internet when they defaced the site. Now, I submitted those forms back in 2010. Why was that still on a web-facing server? Was it still necessary for the business? That's a good example of why these things need to age off. And whether you're Google or Facebook, you can do these things in a responsible way where you can still get the value out of these that you need to run your business for your ad support without putting your users at risk.
So we didn't have great audio here on that response, but what Ed was saying is that even companies whose business model relies on them to collect and aggregate data don't need to store it indefinitely once its primary use has been accomplished. His example was that some company was hacked, and they found some of his data from 4 years ago that clearly there was no business reason for them still to be holding on to. Let's switch gears a little bit. Last week, Ed, General Keith Alexander, who heads the NSA, testified that he believes that the disclosures of the last 8 months have weakened the country's cyber defenses. Some people might think there's a pot and a kettle problem coming from him, but what was your response to that testimony?
So it's very interesting to see officials like Keith Alexander talking about damage that's been done to sort of the defense of our communications. Because more than anything, there have been two officials in America who have harmed our internet security and actually our national security, because so much of our country's economic success is based on our intellectual property. It's based on our ability to create and share and communicate and compete. Now, those two officials are Michael Hayden and Keith Alexander, two directors of the National Security Agency in the post-9/11 era, who made a very specific change, and that is they elevated offensive operations, that is attacking, over the defense of our communications. They began eroding the protections of our communications in order to get an attacking advantage. Now, this is a problem for one primary reason, and that's America has more to lose than anyone else when every attack succeeds. When you are the one country in the world who has sort of a vault that's more full than anyone else's, it doesn't make any sense for you to be attacking all day and never defending your full vault. And it makes even less sense when you set the standards for vaults worldwide to have a big back door that anybody can walk in through. And that's what we're running into today. So when he says, these things have weakened national security, no, these are improving our national security. These are improving the communications not just of Americans, but everyone in the world, because we rely on the same standards. We rely on the ability to trust our communications, and without that, we don't have anything. Our economy cannot succeed.
So, Chris, Richard Clark testified a few weeks back that it's more important for us to be able to defend ourselves against attacks from China than to be able to attack China using our cyber tools. I don't think everybody understands that there's any tension whatsoever between those two goals. Why are they in opposition to each other?
As a country, we have public officials testifying in Washington saying that cybersecurity is the greatest threat this country now faces, greater than terrorism. We've had both the director of the FBI and the director of national intelligence say this in testimony to Congress. And I think it's probably true that we do, in fact, face some kind of cybersecurity threat. I think that our systems are not as safe as they could be, and we are all vulnerable to compromise in one way or another. But what should be clear is that this government isn't really doing anything to keep us secure and safe. This is a government that has prioritized for offense rather than defense. If there were a 100% increase in murders in Baltimore next year, the chief of police of Baltimore would be fired. If there is a 100% increase in phishing attacks, successful phishing attacks where people's credit card numbers get stolen, no one gets fired. As a country, we have basically been left to ourselves. Every individual person is left to defend themselves online, and the government has been hoarding information about information security vulnerabilities. In some cases, there was a disclosure in the New York Times, or a report in the New York Times last fall, revealing that NSA has been partnering with U.S. technology companies to intentionally weaken the security of the software that we all use and rely on. And so the government has really been prioritizing its efforts on information collection. And there is this fundamental conflict. There's a tension, which is that a system that is secure is difficult to surveil, and a system that is designed to be surveilled is a target waiting to be attacked. And our networks have been designed with surveillance in mind. We need to prioritize cybersecurity, and that's going to mean making surveillance more difficult. And of course, the NSA and their partners in the intelligence world are not crazy about us going down that path.
So Ed, if the NSA is willing to take these steps that actually weaken security, that spread vulnerabilities, that make it, in some sense, easier not just for us to do surveillance, but for others to attack, they must think there's an awfully good reason for doing that. That there are bulk collection programs that these activities facilitate, the collect-it-all mentality, that it really works. That this is a very, very effective surveillance method in keeping us safe. So, You sat on the inside of these systems for longer than people realize. Do these mass surveillance programs do what our intelligence officials promised to Congress that they do? Are they effective?
They're not. That's actually something that I'm a little bit sympathetic to, because we've got to turn back the clock a little bit and remember that they thought this was a great idea, but no one had ever done it before, at least publicly. So they went, hey, we can spy on everybody in the world all at once. It'll be great. We'll know everything. But the reality is, when they did it, they found out it didn't work. But it was such a good story. It was so successful in securing funding. It was so great at getting new billets. It was so great at winning the contracts that nobody wanted to say no. But the reality is now, we've reached a point where the majority of Americans' telephone communications are being recorded. We've got all this metadata that's being stored for years and years and years. But 2 independent White House investigations have found it has no value at all. It's never helped us. Beyond that, we've got to think about, what are we doing with those resources? What are we getting out of them? And as I said in my European Parliament testimony, we've actually had tremendous intelligence failures because we're monitoring the internet. We're monitoring, everybody's communications instead of suspects' communications. And that lack of focus has caused us to miss leads that we should have had. Tamerlan Tsarnaev of the Boston bombers. The Russians had warned us about it, but we did a very poor FBI investigation. We simply didn't have the resources. We had people looking at other things. And if we hadn't spent so much on mass surveillance, if we followed the traditional models, we might have caught that. Umar Farouk Mukhtalib, the underwear bomber, same thing. His father walked into a U.S. embassy. He went to a CIA officer. He said, my son is dangerous. Don't let him go to your country. Get him help. We didn't follow up. We didn't actually investigate this guy. We didn't dedicate a team to figure out what was going on, because we spent all of this money. We spent all of this time hacking into Google and Facebook's backends to look at their database, their data center communications. What did we get out of that? We got nothing, and 2 White House investigations have confirmed that.
Chris, if, as Ed says, these bulk collection programs are not all that effective, that the resources that go into this would be better directed at targeted surveillance, why are they dangerous?
Why are they dangerous? Because the government is collecting, has created this massive database of everyone's private information. In an NSA building, somewhere probably in Maryland, there's a record of everyone who's called an abortion clinic, everyone who's called an Alcoholics Anonymous hotline, everyone who's called a gay bookstore. And they tell us, don't worry, we're not looking at it, or we're not looking at it in that way, we're not doing those kinds of searches. But I think many Americans, would have good reason to not want that information to exist. I think regardless of which side on the political spectrum you are, you probably don't want the government to know that you're calling an abortion clinic or calling a church or calling a gun store. And you may think quite reasonably that that is none of the government's business. And so I think when you understand that the government can collect this information at this scale, they can hang on to it and figure out uses for it down the road. I think many Americans are quite fearful of this slippery slope, this surveillance that happens behind closed doors. And even if you trust the administration that we have right now, the person who sits in the Oval Office changes every few years, and you may not like the person who's going to sit there in a few years with that data that was collected today.
Ed, we lost you for a moment, but can you still hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. Just before this began, I got an email from Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the World Wide Web, asking for
Hey everyone, it's Amy Newmark, publisher, editor-in-chief, and co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. You're listening to Live Speak on iHeartRadio.
Thank you for listening to Live Speak Radio with hosts Justin Gilson and Alan Quant. Tune in next week to hear more amazing tech news, gadget reviews, and interviews. Don't be afraid to release your inner geek. Listen to Live Speak.